Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into how geography, literally, the ground itself, shaped one of the most famous cities in history, Jerusalem. And you'll see it's a story where the most important decision wasn't about building high on a mountain, but about finding a single, hidden source of water. All right, let's just jump right in with a puzzle. When you think of Jerusalem, you probably picture a city on a majestic hill, right? But the original city, what we call the City of David, was actually built in a small valley with higher hills all around it. Now, militarily speaking, that's just a terrible spot for a fortress. So why on earth would you build it there? To get our heads around this paradox, we have to look at the lay of the land, the city's unique topography. It's a landscape that was carved by nature, and it pretty much dictated everything that came after. Okay, so picture this. You've got three huge valleys that slice through the area. There's the Kidron Valley on the east, the Hinnom Valley that wraps around the west and south, and then the Central Valley, also called the Tyropean, which cuts right down the middle. These valleys created a whole series of hills and slopes, and that original city, it sat on a tiny little ridge called the Offal, kind of wedged right in between them. So what was the secret? What made this spot, which looks so vulnerable on a map, the absolute perfect location for a city that would end up lasting for thousands of years? The answer, in one single word, is water. The whole reason for the city's location is the Gihon Spring. It was right there in the Kidron Valley, next to that little Offal ridge, and it was the city's only reliable source of fresh water. And you have to understand, in the ancient world, a secure source of water was everything. It was more important than high ground, more important than anything else. And this is the crucial decision. The city's first inhabitants, the Jebusites, they made a strategic choice. They built their fortress on the small hill directly above the spring, not on the higher, more defensible mountains all around them that had no water. This one single decision, to put water before elevation, well, it set the stage for the entire history of Jerusalem. Of course, having water nearby is one thing, but protecting it and actually getting that water inside the city walls when an army is laying siege outside, well, that's a massive engineering challenge, and solving it would define Jerusalem for centuries. And their solution was absolutely ingenious. The Jebusites created this hidden water system. From inside the safety of the city walls, you could walk into a tunnel, go down a long staircase carved right out of the rock, and end up at a secret underground pool that was fed by the Gihon Spring. You could get all the water you needed without ever stepping foot outside. But here's the incredible irony. Around 1000 BC, when King David came to conquer the city, the Jebusites basically laughed at him. They said their fortress was so secure that even the lame and the blind could defend it. But it seems David's army found a way in, through that very same water channel. The city's greatest strength turned out to be the key to its capture. Now, fast forward about 300 years. The story of Jerusalem's water engineering was far from over. King Hezekiah was on the throne, and he was facing a terrifying threat. The Assyrian army, the most powerful military force on earth, was on its way. Hezekiah knew that the old Jebusite system wasn't going to be enough, so he decided to take the city's water security to a whole new level. He launched this monumental project, which was so incredible they actually carved this inscription to commemorate it inside the tunnel itself. The plan was wild. Cut a 1,750-foot tunnel through solid bedrock to secretly divert all the water from the Gihon Spring, which was outside the city, to a brand new reservoir, the Pool of Siloam, safely inside the walls. I mean, just think about this feat of engineering. Two teams started digging from opposite ends, deep underground. No GPS, no modern surveying tools. They were guided literally by the sound of each other's pickaxes chipping away at the rock. And against all odds, they met in the middle. This tunnel made Jerusalem nearly siege-proof. It secured its future. So now the city and its water supply are secure. And with that settled, King David makes this brilliant political move that transforms Jerusalem from just a small fortress into the capital of an entire nation. See, David's home tribe was Judah, down in the south, but the other big power center was the northern tribes. So to unite the kingdom and not show favoritism, he didn't put the capital in his own territory. He chose the neutral city of Jerusalem, which sat right on the border between them. And it's really a move that's remarkably similar to how Washington, D.C. was created, right? A neutral capital between the northern and southern states. So, with security and politics taken care of, the city could finally grow. And not just out, but up. David's son Solomon is the one who expanded this city onto the higher ground, building his legendary temple on Mount Moriah, just north of that original city of David. And over the centuries, the city just kept growing in these layers. It started on that small oval hill, then it expanded north to the Temple Mount, and later it spread out across the Central Valley to the big western hill. It was a step-by-step process that turned it into the sprawling city we imagine today. And the scale of the building just became staggering. I mean, by the time of Herod the Great, around the time of Jesus, some of the foundation stones for his expansion of the Temple Mount weighed up to 570 tons for one stone. To put that in perspective, that's about the weight of 3 blue whales. It just shows you how far the city had come. So what's really fascinating is how this physical landscape, which was chosen for the very practical need for water, became deeply woven into the city's stories and its spiritual identity. The ground itself started to tell the story. You can see this perfectly in a famous story from the Gospel of John about Jesus and a man born blind. Now, on the surface, it's a story about a miracle, but it's also a story that you can only really understand if you know the geography of Jerusalem. So in the story, the man starts his journey way up high, on the Temple Mount, the city's sacred peak. But then he's told to go all the way down, descending nearly 450 feet and traveling about half a mile to the Pool of Siloam. That's the exact pool fed by Hezekiah's tunnel from the Gihon Spring. So his physical journey literally traces the city's own history, from its holiest high point all the way back down to its original life-giving source of water. And what's really amazing is how the very geography that once made the city seem weak, being in a valley surrounded by all those higher hills, was completely transformed into a powerful spiritual metaphor. It became a symbol not of vulnerability, but of divine protection. So here's the bottom line. The physical layout of Jerusalem, dictated by one little spring in a valley, isn't just a backdrop to its history. The geography is the story. The very practical choices made for survival became the foundation for thousands of years of faith and identity. And it really leaves you with a question, doesn't it? For any great city, how do those ancient, invisible foundations of geography, the water and the stone beneath our feet, continue to shape its destiny, and maybe even our own, today?